back into the Sean podcast. This is the big Ush man over here. And over there, we have the man, that myth, that legend, that dude that can almost go through walls and stuff, that he's so elusive. That's the Cat Daddy. Mr. Sean Cummings. What's on your mind?
Ooh, welcome back for our fantasy episode. I hope you were listening to us with a 1-0 record.
Yeah, that wouldn't be me, but you know.
One of us in this
happen.
podcast has a 1-0 record.
Well, it is not my fault one of my receivers got injured and I went against the guy who has the most points in the league. It's nonsense.
Oh, I always hate those weeks. I hate going against the team that scores the most points because I think, man, I had absolutely no chance of winning this week.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously. Anyways, let's jump into it. Going for a little bit. So we're going to give you some new segments. So, our first segment, getting the dub. So, during the pre-fantasy aspect, on or off the pod, we're just going to name a couple names of guys that we believed in. We might even have drafted. And right now, as of week one, and yes, I know that's an overreaction, these lists will change. But for now, we've been right. And we're going to take that W on being right. So, Sean, how about you give us your list first? Your small little list.
My small little list.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to try and give you one from each position. Quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end. Like I'm going to try and break it up that way. So, one of my victories, Jalen Hurts, right? Didn't I have him as a top 10 quarterback? Right, I know it's early. Did he look good? He did.
I don't know if he looked good, personally. But, did he do well? Did he put up numbers?
He sure did. He and Nick Sirianni, that could be
Falcons team.
a decent duo if you play Atlanta 17 times a year. You don't.
They could be good.
They could. You know, this week they have San Francisco, which is going to be a little bit depleted in the secondary, so that could work in his favor. But do you know why I liked Jalen Hurts in the very beginning? He has the rushing threat, 500 plus yards on the ground. I think he had about 60-some this week. And he could be a garbage time king, right? Are we expecting Philadelphia to win a lot of games this year? I wasn't. So if I was drafting Jalen Hurts, it was for garbage time production.
Even though, did you hear the crazy, ridiculous stat?
What's that?
He had the longest time, like from snap to throw. He had the longest time out of any quarterback, but also the least. Like he's like, what is it? 7th least amount of yards to go. Like or air yards, I should say.
That time to throw says a lot more about Atlanta's defense than it does Philadelphia's offensive line. So let's be really clear about that.
But
even with that, the small amount of yards in there, that's a little bit concerning over a long period of time. But at least for 1 week, I can be right about Jalen Hurts.
It's just funny because it's like, shouldn't you be going further downfield if you're taking more time?
Should be, but you need all that time to throw intermediate passes. Yep.
Who's next on your list?
All right, next on my list is a guy who I had at number 9 on running back list, Joe Mixon.
Real quick. I got somebody on my list who you can poo-poo on also, so go ahead.
All right, my guy, running back, Joe Mixon, right?
All right.
When we talked about running backs, I was like, this is Joe Mixon's year. hopefully, and we're off to a good start because right now Joe Mixon is currently leading the league in rushing yards with
Yes, he is.
127. Second place, Elijah Mitchell has 104. And Joe Mixon has a pretty nice matchup with the Chicago Bears this week.
Yes, he does. All right, next up.
All right. Wide receiver group. I don't think he was in my top 10. I can double check. Nope, he wasn't in my top 10, clearly. But I had him as a keeper in my fantasy league. I faded him at his value of 4th or 5th rounds. But if he keeps up this production, he might be worth that 4th or 5th round pick. Adam Thielen coming up huge with 2 touchdowns. It looks like Minnesota losing Irv Smith, their tight end for the season. It doesn't look like they're going to replace those red zone targets to or with another tight end. They're just going to keep giving the ball to Adam Thielen, and I'm okay with that.
I'm going to disagree with you here, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you took him, I'm calling this a loss, considering what list you had Adam Thielen on.
He was a fade at his value of a 4th and 5th round, but I had him in the 9th round, so that's a W.
Regardless if you had him in the 9th round, how you felt about him in terms of in general overall puts him in your loss category.
Ooh, okay. Well, I can go Tyreek Hill for my wide receiver.
There you go. Tyreek Hill is one that you, yeah, because he's a monster.
Yeah. He is the most explosive wide receiver, the biggest deep threat in the game, and he showed that this week.
Yes, he did.
He did, and my tight end is going to be Travis Kelce, the most consistent and reliable targets in that high-scoring Kansas City offense. Came through.
He wasn't the top-ranked tight end, though.
Who is the top-ranked tight end?
This week is Gronkowski.
Throwback.
All right. Moving on to my list. I was not as elegant as Sean to do it by positions. I don't actually have a running back in my win category right now. But what I do have, one that Sean can debate all he wants. He probably wants to. My first one is Jameis Winston, quarterback, New Orleans. I know.
That's a legit win.
For what?
5 tutties.
He only threw for what? 150 yards or so, but he had 5 touchdowns. I don't care. And why do you only throw for that much? He wasn't required to. Green Bay didn't require him to have to do any more. Not to mention, come mid-season when Michael Thomas comes back, this could be interesting, especially if these other guys develop. All right, next up, another quarterback. I've been talking about him all off season. Everybody thought, they thought his arm was going to fall off. One legit reporter said he's going to have an MRI every week. Well, when Mr. Dak Prescott came out and lit the world on fire, did he not? Legit. Another guy I was high on, Corey Davis. Preseason stuff wasn't just hype. He showed up. Corey Davis is a legit number 1 receiver, and they should only get better as the timing with Zach Wilson gets better. I have another receiver, Jamar Chase. Now, I am very surprised on something that you didn't do, but we'll get there. So Jamar Chase, people wanted to say, Devontae Smith is going to be better. This, and that. Well, guess what? For week 1, the top rookie wide receiver, who's looking like he's going to be a legit plug-and-play guy, that's Jamar Chase. Now, My last one. It's a win, but it's kind of a loss for the player. And that's why I'm surprised you didn't put Derrick Henry on your list as one of your wins. Because technically, right now for week 1, that's a win for you. Derrick Henry did not put up numbers.
Technically, yeah. I've been fading him.
Another
yeah.
player that didn't put up numbers, tight end, Kyle Pitts. Currently, I'd say that's a win in my column. I still think Kyle Pitts is going to be a beast in his career. But, again, for this first year, he might not show up really until maybe week 10 is when he might have some flashes, but he might not get consistent until week 10-ish. That's all I'm saying. Is tight ends don't normally, come out the gates running. Not like some of these receivers. All right, Sean, how about these L's? You taking any L's?
Yeah, I'm taking just as many L's as I'm taking W's.
Let's hear your L's.
All right, quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, right? Huge L. Aaron, buddy, that performance was disappointing. The team as a whole, Aaron Rodgers as the individual. It's like Aaron Rodgers just rode the Hot Mess Express, and the stat line showed abysmal performance. But I don't think that's going to be the only time I use this word in that word in this segment.
I know another L you took. It wasn't as bad as an L there. It was just, we'll call it a miscalculation. I'm going to bring up that Kyler Murray.
Okay.
Miscalculation. You devalued him, and that's fine. But he came out and said, Sean Cummings is wrong. The cat daddy needs to rethink his stance.
Well, maybe if he played for like the Lions, Jaguars, the Panthers, Bengals, some team with a cat, maybe I'd be higher on him. But he plays for the Cardinals. He plays for a bird. So, and I had him as my number 5 quarterback to start this season. I said he was a good dynasty option. You know what? We're going to argue that one. But going on to my running back, the L I took actually came from a productive player. One of the players I was really high on this year, Austin Eckler. And I loved Austin Eckler because he was number 1 running threat of the team, but he's also capable of getting 80-plus receptions during the season, and that's what I really liked about Eckler. That's why I was talking him up so much. I'm like, yes, Joe Lombardi, this could be a great offense. Now we saw what he did with Alvin Kamara in New Orleans. We're going to see something similar. Do you know how many targets Austin Eckler had on Sunday?
0.
Boom. He had as many targets as I did. Something's wrong there. So I take the L with Austin Eckler because he did not record a single target. He had a productive day, scored a touchdown, helped me to victory this week. But the loss is because, man, I need to see those targets quick.
All right, who's your next one?
All right, wide receiver. Guy I was really high on didn't show up, but it wasn't his fault. It was his quarterback's fault. It was the whole team's fault. And we could throw 2 people in this category because I could say similar things about both of them, just change the name of the quarterback, Devontae Adams and Calvin Ridley, but mostly I was thinking Calvin Ridley. But yeah, poor performance by the team, poor performance by the quarterback equals poor performance by them as well, because if the quarterback can't get them the ball, they can't do anything. So I have Ridley and Adams. And for my tight end loss, we're going to stay in Atlanta for a few seconds. Kyle Pitts. Right?
Oh, my win is your loss.
Yeah. Exactly. Did not perform as well as I would have hoped he would have, right? Does that mean he's going to have a poor season altogether? Absolutely not. It's 1 game. It's a small sample size. There's still a lot of promise and a lot of time for Kyle Pitts, but he had 4 receptions on 8 targets, turned it into 31 yards. Yeah, I need to see a little bit more than that. Yeah, who do you got?
So, my first loss, DeAndre Swift. I was not high on him. I avoided him in all drafts, and he came out looking nasty. So that's a loss on me because miscalculation there. Another running back on my list, Josh Jacobs, another guy who was on my list of players you should avoid. He came out with an injury and still running hard. Next up, Chase Claypool. Oh, what, you got something to say about Jacobs?
No, I'll save it. I'm going to talk about Jacobs later.
All right, Chase Claypool. He was on my top 10. He did nothing. I know he played a good defense, but I mean, you got to be better than that. And my biggest loss, and one that you can gloat about, it's a win for you, Mark Andrews. I was high on Mark Andrews. And he did next to nothing. So that's a loss for me.
I know. There's a lot more to that Mark Andrews, though. You're thinking Baltimore lost 3 running backs. Yeah.
And a guard. All right, next up. Next segment, we're going to keep it rolling for you. It's called Who Do You Trust? And I'm going to start this one off. Yes, I'm going with the low-hanging fruit at QB. So with this one, we are, each of us, going to give you a QB, a wide receiver, running back, tight end, all who we trust this week to put up numbers for you. Then we're going to go through and we're going to tell you somebody we don't trust. All right, so somebody I trust that will put up numbers this week. Handily, Tom Brady. They're playing Atlanta. I'm sorry. Tom Brady is going to smoke them. Who you got, Sean?
Quarterback Aaron Rodgers, coming off probably one of the worst losses of his career. I fully expect MVP Aaron Rodgers to show back up against the Detroit City Kitties and use this as that cupcake game like they do in college football to get back on track. That's what I'm expecting this week.
Nice. He's going all in on your guy, huh?
Mm-hmm. And you guys better listen to our football pod about the picks because I put a little wager up there for myself.
Oh, yes,
so go listen to that, find out what it is.
So my wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins. I love me some Jamar Chase, but he's not DeAndre Hopkins yet. Hopkins is going to smoke this Minnesota secondary. Woo!
All right, I'm getting spicy here. Wide receiver, Devontae Smith. Right?
Oh, really?
Pick your jaw off real quick. Here's my reason. San Francisco now has a depleted secondary with Jason Verrett going down for the year. And Smith has already shown that he is Jalen Hurts' favorite target. So if Philadelphia is going to win, they're not going to run the ball. They got to throw it.
We'll see. Let's see. Miles Sanders had a big say in that win. Just saying. Oh, nice. Yeah. All right. My next up, I'm going with some Aaron Jones. I think if the Packers are going to make some noise, they're going to do something that we allude to in a different pod. They're going to need to run the ball more. And Rodgers is going to have to get that ball, be in the running game or in the passing game, to Aaron Jones. And Aaron Jones can feast because we saw what the Niners did. And I know the Packers running game may not be the Niners running game, but the Packers running game ain't too slouchy when they are playing.
It's pretty good. Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, right? We got potential there.
So I think Aaron Jones is a must start this week.
All right. I got Nick Chubb, right? Nick Chubb is going against Houston, and this is going to be the best matchup of the season for Nick Chubb. So if he comes in with anything less than 120 yards and at least 1 touchdown, it's going to be a disappointment.
I can see that. My tight end one, Going off the rails. Oh,
Going Kyle Pitts?
no. Not this week, especially. Against Tampa? Are you kidding me? I am going with Noah Fant. Going against Jacksonville. Farrell Brown. Do you even know who Farrell Brown is?
Went to Oregon. Go Ducks.
Because Farrell Brown tore up them Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm pretty sure Noah Fant's got a little bit more athletic ability. So I think he's going to feast against these Jacksonville Jaguars, especially considering they need someone to step up with Jerry Jeudy out.
Yeah, there need to be some targets that are available. This could be the opportunity for him. I like that one. I think this week there's a lot of good tight end matchups this week. So the one I like the most is TJ Hawkinson, because Green Bay just doesn't seem to want to guard the tight ends at all, as evident by Jawan Johnson going up, grabbing 2 touchdowns last week.
But I mean, he skyhooked on them.
He did.
But I mean, Hawkinson, he showed up last week in garbage time. Maybe he'll show up again in garbage time.
In my mind, that's how it's going to play out. Yep.
All right, moving on. Who don't you trust? I'll start again. And I'm going to start very spicy. Very, very spicy. One that you will not agree with. I do not trust quarterback Josh Allen. Not against Miami. Miami's got a solid defense. I don't see Josh Allen putting up numbers this week. He still might be solid, but he's not going to put up numbers. He's not a must start. If you have a better option, put him in.
But if you have Josh Allen on your team, do you really have a better option?
That is the thing. That is there's the predicament. Who's your quarterback?
My quarterback that I don't trust this week is Ryan Tannehill. Tough sledding against Arizona last week, right? Chandler Jones is pretty much living in your yard. The offense just does not look the same without Arthur Smith. Now, will they make adjustments this week to utilize a little bit more play action, get Ryan Tannehill back to the Ryan Tannehill resurgence? Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I'm not optimistic about Tannehill until I start seeing a change in the offense.
All right, my wide receiver. Another one. Whew. I'm going Terry McLaurin. He's most likely going to be shadowed by James Bradbury. As pissed as I am at James Bradbury for injuring Jerry Jeudy, he's a really good corner. And I don't think Terry McLaurin's going to put up much numbers this week.
Wide receiver I don't trust this week. Oh, well, actually, there's a lot. There's anybody in the New York Giants. There's anybody on the Texans.
No, but it's got to be something significant. Come on, man.
Something significant.
Don't be a coward.
I know. The guy I wouldn't trust, New England's Nelson Aguilar. I know last week looked good. I know Mac Jones is looking his way, but Bill Belichick has shown us don't trust individual players on his team.
Oh, some Bellatrix?
So, exactly. How many times have we seen a New England running back have a great day to obviously disappear like 3 games later and never be heard of again? Same could be said for wide receivers. I'm not very confident with Nelson Aguilar this week.
All right. So my running back. Going back to that Giants-Washington game. on the other side of the ball. I'm not trusting Saquon Barkley, especially not against that Washington front. I mean, I'm sorry. I know you had to draft him fairly high, but you're going to have to sit him this game.
I know, and that's tough. First rounders, because if you have them, you either got them in the first round, you got really lucky to grab them in the second round.
Exactly.
It's hard to sit a first rounder. It's so hard. And hopefully you did not draft Josh Jacobs in the first rounds. I am not high on Josh Jacobs this week. If you have him, good luck. That Las Vegas offensive line is a mess.
Against Pittsburgh?
That Pittsburgh defense looked legit. If you have Josh Jacobs and you have to start him because you have no other options, you're really holding your breath for touchdowns. I think this week he is a touchdown-dependent running back.
All right. Coming up, my last one. You alluded to it earlier. My tight end to not trust, it's Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts versus those linebackers and those safeties, please forget about it.
All right. We're getting spicy here. We're getting spicy. My tight end not to trust this week is currently the number one tight end in fantasy football, Rob Gronkowski. I am. Atlanta's defense is abysmal, right? We know it's horrible. Yep. And that's part of the reason I'm not as high on Gronk is I don't think Tampa Bay is going to have to throw the ball as much as they did week 1 against Dallas. I don't see Atlanta putting up much of a fight, which means Tampa Bay won't have to throw as much. They're going to rely on the run. They're going to have Ronald Jones the second. They're going to have Leonard Fournette. They're going to have Giovanni Bernard. They're going to run the ball a little bit more. And there's too many weapons in that passing game. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown. I mean, you have several tight ends in Tampa Bay. So
I do agree with you here, but I agree with you to the point that if you want to compare it to the Dallas game, so Dallas had really good so they had one corner that shut down Mike Evans pretty much, and then they had to try to figure out Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin. Even though eventually he had a good game, he had some rough moments. So Gronk was the one that was getting open. Now Atlanta, on the other hand, they have Deion Jones, who's a solid in coverage linebacker, and their corners are, AJ Terrell and Isaiah Oliver. Did they scare you? Who are their safeties?
Who?
Exactly. So I agree with you. The outside scares you far less than Dallas's corners, which that says a lot, doesn't it? Anyways, so that's our advice for the week. If you want any more advice or you want to yell at us for our opinions, get at me, Ush Elliott, on Instagram or Twitter, and get at Sean here at the Cat Daddy, Instagram or Twitter. To let us know your thoughts. Slander us if you need to.
I'm okay with that.
We can take it. Mm-hmm. All right, Sean, words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom. For me, when it comes to a first rounder, start him. You draft him in the first round for a reason, even if it was Saquon Barkley, even though you knew his injury history, even though you knew he was going to be slow starting the season because we warned you. I think I warned you about that. You gotta dance the one that you brought, right? You got him in the first round. You spent that high pick on him. Don't put him on the bench. Ride or die.
My advice is be patient. Don't blow your wad early. Don't dump a high profile guy that you're high on because he didn't produce right away. You wouldn't believe early in my my fantasy career, not career, that where I dump somebody and then they blow up later. Draft for depth and then be patient. It's a long season.